We are currently in a sermon series called Pass It On. And what we are trying to do is look at different scriptures in the Bible that talk about what has been given to us, things of faith, things about knowledge and wisdom, lessons that our parents and grandparents have learned from their experience that have been passed on to us. And we want to reflect on them, we want to give thanks for them, and then also we want to think about how do we pass those things on to the next generation. And each week, I've been able to interview somebody different. The first week it was Beth Schertz, and she talked about her grandmother. Last time it was Beulah Steiner, and she talked about her father. And this time it's Katie Dodson, and she talked about her mother, Pam Hyland. And I'm going to pass this picture around to you. Since we don't have a projector, I can't project it onto the wall, which I'm totally happy about today, but I want to pass this around to you. This is a picture of Katie with her mom, Pam, when Katie was in college there at the College of Wooster. So I'm going to go ahead and start that around on this end, and then I'm going to pass from the other direction this book, because all throughout this series I'm asking people to bring an object or something that was passed down to them that's very meaningful. And this is the Audubon Society Field Guide to North American Birds that Katie's mom passed on to her, and it's a very dear possession that's very meaningful for her. So I'm going to pass that around too. Thank you. Oh, and Katie reminded me, look in the Audubon Guide for a surprise in there. If you look around, you'll find something pretty special in there. She wanted me to remind you. Just keep looking through the pages. It's an object there. All right. So, wisdom from parents and grandparents is a precious gift. That's what we're told today in Proverbs 4. A parent's instruction is valuable. Don't neglect it. Or as our passage says, listen to a parent's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. Do not forsake their sound learning and teaching. And so this morning I wanted to reflect with you a little bit on this interview that I did with Katie, and she talked about how her mom, Pam, passed on knowledge to her by helping her see the beauty of creation around her, which is so perfect for the moment that we're in right now. Pam took Katie on bird-watching trips to nature preserves around Ohio when she was young. She was constantly pointing out and naming flowers and birds to Katie, teaching her to identify them. Katie says this gave her a foundation for her knowledge of birds and flowers. When out and about, Pam would excitedly point out things like a beautiful tree, a goldfinch, a blue heron that she would spot, and her enthusiasm rubbed off onto Katie. Pam also purposefully left the back 100 yards of their property natural for the animals, which had a huge impact on Katie because she said, and I quote, "I spent 2/3 of my childhood playing down there by the river, little make-believe games in the trails that would be made by the animals." And now, Katie points out and names flowers and birds to our children, following her mom, Pam's example. So yes, we can say, I think, as we think on Katie's story, that we agree wisdom is a precious gift passed on from a parent, especially this morning as we think about wisdom in the area of nature and for the beauty of the natural world. The passage also tells us that wisdom teaches us how to live well. Proverbs 4:4, wisdom leads to right living, or as the proverb says, take hold of my words with all your heart, keep my commands, and you will live. And once again, this connects with Katie's story about her mom, Pam. Pam gave Katie wisdom for having greater self-awareness and adjusting her attitude and outlook on life. She chose certain moments to be corrective for Katie. She chose them very carefully, and it had an impact. Katie shares this. She would tell me that I needed an attitude adjustment, which I hated hearing. It was the worst. But as I'm going throughout my life, I realized that she was right. And maybe it was hard for her to say that to me. She didn't say it often, but I wonder if she was choosing the right time, and then it's born some fruit. So this wisdom that Pam imparted to Katie was about her own self-awareness, being aware of what's going on internally in her heart, in her attitude, in her outlook. And it has stuck with Katie. It's contributed to her personal growth and maturity. And so wisdom passed on helps us live well, doesn't it? If you agree, you can say amen.
Amen.
And finally, wisdom opens our eyes to the world. Proverbs 4:5-6 says it opens our eyes to the world and protects us. Get wisdom. She will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. And Katie shared this about her mom, and I think you'll see in this quote how Pam modeled deep and active listening to other people and to God, and how that is its own lesson, to be deep and active in our listening towards others. And this is what Katie said. She was one of the best listeners that I've ever had in my life. It made me feel when she would listen to me like my concerns were important and valuable. She taught me a lot. She would say, people really like to have someone listen to them, and that's a way that you can be a really good friend. Katie also went on to share, I remember her telling me that when she couldn't sleep, she would just lie in bed and pray by just being still and listening. That's what she would say. She would listen for God's voice. And I think maybe that was the first seed for me of contemplative prayer, or of the role of silence in my faith journey. So can you hear that gift of wisdom that Pam gave to Katie in modeling for her how to listen for God's voice and to listen for others, this attentive, caring form of listening. And it has influenced Katie and helped her to strive to listen well to others. So the gifts of wisdom and knowledge we're told this morning are precious. From grandparents to parents to children and beyond. And parents also help impart this wisdom, and it's beyond just knowledge of facts. We can know things about the world, but wisdom is about understanding how to apply what we know in a way that is life-giving to us and to other people. And Pam inspired Katie with this type of wisdom, as we already heard, as it related to nature and self-awareness and relationships and prayer. And Katie continues to draw on this wisdom, and it helps her to live a meaningful life. So this passage reminds us that we can have a profound and formative impact on others as we are willing to pass on wisdom to the next generation. May we strive to receive and pass on wisdom, just as Pam did for Katie. Amen.